Invite you to embrace this pivotal weekend in the race to be the champions of the Premier League.
You're listening to FPL Copy Talks. Arguably the best FPL podcast in Singapore.
It was never a debate.
It was always a debate. It was always a debate.
Alright, hello, welcome back to the episode of FPL Copy Talks. I'm Anwar, the FPL casual, and with me I have...
I'm Lukman, the sensible one. How's it going, bro?
It's good. I'm really pumped up with this FPL Playbook series. Alright, so we're in our third episode of this FPL Playbook series. In the last podcast, you would have listened to us talk about the basics of FPL, transfers as well as chips. We've also introduced a couple of terms, including free hit, rolling your transfers, and taking a hit. So we'll continue doing that a bit further. In this episode, right, what we're going to do is we're going to deep dive into the points, how the points are awarded. We further elaborate on that. We take a deep dive into the point system. And then we'll cover some terminologies that we'll be using that would be useful in our discussion moving forward when we discuss considerations that we need to take when we look at different positions on the field, like the goalkeeper, defenders, midfielders, and forwards. Right? Lukman, how are you feeling?
So, I'm feeling good. Let's kick it off. But before that, be sure to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, TikTok, and we are on most socials. But more importantly, share the podcast to anyone you know who will be interested in learning about FPL all over again, and for them to be engaged in the game for the upcoming season.
Yep. Without further ado, let's go into the FPL Playbook.
This is the FPL Playbook, your ultimate guide to mastering Fantasy Premier League. Whether you're just starting out or a seasoned pro, this podcast series covers everything you need to know. From building a winning team to discovering game-changing strategies, we're here to transform casual players into engaged enthusiasts. Get ready to elevate your FPL game.
Yep, indeed. Get ready to elevate your FPL game. So, this is the third part of the FPL Playbook series called What's the Point? So, what's the point of Fantasy Premier League if you don't know how we get points? That's what we're going to do right now. We're going to deep dive into how the points are being awarded, right? So, I'm just going to do it very quickly, an overview, and then after that, we'll deep dive into some of the some of the criteria that would validate or invalidate certain points within the point system as well. So the first thing is you get points for just playing or turning up in that sense. So 1 point is guaranteed if you play it, and if you play up to 60 minutes. If you exceed 60 minutes, right, that's 2 points. And this 60 minutes is regular time minutes. That means it excludes additional stoppages, especially at the end of the first half. Like right now, we see sometimes 10, 7, 15 minutes, right? Those additional stoppages, stoppage time does not include in the 60 minutes. So the 60 minutes is regular playing time. So if as long as you're being subbed out after the 60.01 mark, or whatever time the FPL agrees that is the 60th minute mark, then you get 2 points, right? Moving forward, we have goals scored. So what is football without goals scored, right? So for each goal scored by a goalkeeper or defender, right, that's an added bonus because goalkeepers or defenders rarely score goals. They get 6 points for goalkeeper or defender that scores goals. For a midfielder, the midfielder gets 5 points. And for an attacker or forward, he gets 4 points for each goal scored. Right. Of course, with every goal scorer, there will be that guy who assists, the wingman who assists. And this time the points awarded for goals or the assisters are not as discriminatory as the points awarded to goal scored. So for the assisters, right, it's a flat 3 points for all players, for all assists, right? Be it goalkeeper, defenders, midfielders, attackers. It's a flat 3 points for every assist created. Next up, we have clean sheets, right? So clean sheets is awarded if the team keeps a clean sheet, and that's 4 points for a goalkeeper or defender. Their bread and butter. That's what they need to do: keep clean sheets, keep the goals out. And for a midfielder, you get 1 point if you assist in keeping a clean sheet. Just a quick point here. For you to qualify for the clean sheet points, you need to have at least been on the pitch for 60 minutes or more. Right, real like actual game time, not excluding stoppage time. And on top of that, there's this thing called bonus points. So there's a complex algorithm on how bonus points are being calculated. This is right now Lokman's Ali. He'll probably give us a quick run through on what that bonus point is breakdown. But for me, as the FPL casual, all I need to know is that you can get 1, 2, or 3 points, bonus points max, and it's awarded to the top 3 performing players in the match itself. Does not have to be the match, like the player from the match, the player from the team that wins the match. But as long as they've got the points, then the guy with the highest ranking will get 3 points, 2 points, and 1 point accordingly. Yep.
Okay, so for deductions, right?
Don't we take you through deductions. Yeah.
Yeah. So for every 2 goals conceded by goalkeeper or defender, you get -1. So if you concede 3 goals, it will still be -1. So it will go by -1 if you by a multiple of 2 goals if you concede. So for each yellow card, you get -1. For each red card, you get -3. So one thing to take note, right? If you get 2 yellow cards in a game, it will be a red card lah. So you will just get the red card -3. You won't like -1, -1, -3 lah. You just get -3 for red card. Yeah. So for own goal, -2. So for goalkeepers, for every 3 shots saved by a goalkeeper, you get 1 point. For each penalty save, you get 5 points. So these 5 points, I feel is a bit too much because some penalty saves are pretty lucky, and also it handsomely rewards in the bonus point system also. So I think this is the penalty save is like I remember Ariola saving penalty, he'll definitely get a haul. So I remember those lucky save, bro. I remember you last season you benefited from a few lucky penalty saves,
All
right?
skills, bro.
All skills.
All skills.
For each penalty means you get -2. Okay, so let's deep dive into each point award system in FPL to understand how players can earn points in different scenarios. So, okay, let's quickly touch on clean sheet. I think you mentioned it already. So it's basically a player must play at least 60 minutes. After that, if they get subbed out in the 65th minute, they will log the clean sheet point. That's all for clean sheet, right? Anything else you want to add?
I think that's all for clean sheets. We move on to red cards. So
Yeah.
if a player receives a red card, they will continue to be penalized for goal conceded by the team. Right. So remember the -1 point for every 2 goals. If you're the main reason of conceding more goals, then you will be further punished by that.
Assist.
Yeah,
Let's
that's
go on to
for red cards. And then
I think
assist.
so assist is pretty complicated. Yeah, you want to go? Yeah, I think you go.
Yeah, so I think assist, you got fantasy assist and you got Opta assist. So basically, that's 2 different metrics. Opta assist are like your official assist that you see on the screen when the Premier League actually awards the assist to a particular player, and this goes into like the official how do you put it, the official count for the number of goals and assists. But fantasy football itself, they have a few different variations to these rules, which were called fantasy assists, and that's basically to help boost the point systems even more lah. So basically, like a fantasy assists are awarded to players from the goal scoring team who last touches the ball before the teammate scores the goal. So even if you take a corner and then you hit the ball and then and someone deflects the goal in, you probably get a fantasy assist for that one.
Yeah.
Right? Even if it's how do I put it, like non-intentional.
Yeah, correct. Not intentional.
Right? However, if an opposing player significantly alters the intended destination of the ball, or if an unforced defensive error leads to the goal scoring opportunity, no fantasy assist is awarded. Right? So let's say you hit the ball and let's say the defender actually brings it on into your path, then you will get a point. So basically, right, at the end of the day, right, it's a casual, right? What you need to know is this. You just wait until the assist is awarded before you celebrate. Like, you can go into the details, but just wait. Because rebound can also lead to fantasy assist, right? So let's say a goal is blocked by an opposition player, saved by the goalkeeper, or hits the woodwork, and from the rebound a goal is scored, then a fantasy assist is awarded. So let's
Yeah.
say Watkins hit the ball, right? Hits the woodwork. Okay, I won't use Watkins. I use someone more realistic. If Darwin hits the ball and hit the woodwork, right, and not Milner, and Harvey Elliott taps it in, then Darwin gets the fantasy assist. So, not too bad of an asset, actually, with this assist, right?
Okay, I'll cover
Yeah.
our
So
own goals.
again,
So
like they have this very vague caveat.
yeah,
If a significant touch is made by an opposition player after a block effort, no fantasy assist is awarded.
yeah,
So,
it's
like I
very
said,
grey.
at the end of the day,
If
assist is 3 points, regardless of position. So this is why potentially why it doesn't matter which position you are in, because from corners everyone has equal opportunities to get fantasy assists, right?
yep.
At the end of the day, you only celebrate after we know the results of who got the assist. But most of the time, you usually get the assist. They're quite lenient on this one, right? You have to agree with me on this, Lokman.
Yeah, they are lenient, to be honest. Other fantasy games, they don't it has to be intentional, like the Euros game, but this one it doesn't have to be
Assist has
intentional.
to be intentional, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on. Own goals also can result in assists. So if you force a player to score an own goal by you cross the ball and an own goal, you get an assist there too. And then lastly is the penalties and free kicks. So if you earn the penalty or free kick, you will get the assist. And also handball. So basically, if you kick the ball and the defender handballs, you will still get the assist also. So that I don't think there should be an assist lah, because handball
Yeah,
you didn't do much.
so yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Continue. So it's important to know that
So
points
that is
awarded.
assist in itself. Mm.
Yeah, the points awarded in game are subject to change until 1 hour after the final whistle of the last match of any given day. And the final decision on fantasy assist is made by Fantasy Premier League in consultation with Stats Perform. I don't know what Stats Perform. Do you know what Stats Perform, bro?
Probably the vendor that they engage to regulate the point system. Yeah. But that being said, like I mentioned, like it's all fun, and what it basically means is that assists are generally quite leniently given.
Jenny.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so basically that's where, like, I mean, if you look from a very strategic point of view, where you stand within corners itself, whether you take corners, whether you take free kicks or not, it adds up to like this assist point. So it's something to take into consideration as well. Yep. I
Let's
think
move on
moving
to
forward, this
yeah.
is something which I'm really interested to find out as well. The bonus point system. So let me just give a quick overview before Lokman. I won't say bores us in the details, but Lokman enlightens us with how this system works, because it's still a mystery to me. At the end of the day, the bonus point system utilizes a range of statistics, right? To create this bonus point score for every player in that game. And the three best performing players in each match are awarded bonus points, right? So 3 points to the highest scorer, 2 to the second, and 1 for the third. And what happens when there's a tie for bonus? Here's how it's resolved. So if there's a tie for first place, then you got 2 players with 3 points, and the next player gets 1 point. If there's a tie for second place, then 3 points and 2 points and 2 points. And if there's a tie for third place, then it's 3, 2, 1, 1, right? So yeah, so that's basically how we get a point. And basically throughout the game, right, when you click on match information at the bottom, they will just update the number of bonus points that
points
each player
system.
is seeing, and then the rank is quite updated lah, and then you can
Yeah.
more or less start celebrating or counting in the points itself. So Lokman, let's go through this,
Yeah.
man. How
So I'll just
what's this stats that they use?
so I'll quickly go through like how bonus point system is awarded. So for instance, playing time earns you bonus points. Goal scored and
Mhm.
assists too. So for example, right, if you're a forward, you get more points for a goal when compared to a midfielder or defender. But that's one of the reasons why
Okay.
you only get 4 points for a goal for forward. You get 5 points for a midfielder. However, when a forward scores a goal, you get more bonus point system. So that's why a goal for forward is more valuable for bonus points, even though you get 1 less point for a goal. So that's one of the reasons why how they so-called balance it, I guess. Balance out the points. So you also can earn points for
Okay.
like dribble, tackles, key pass, ball recoveries. There's a lot. The list is very long. I just want to point out there's a podcast called Above Average FPL. So they do kind of a deep dive on bonus point system. So if you're interested, you can just search them and search one of their podcasts on bonus points. They do a deep dive like every season, and that is a very interesting part. So they go 2 hours on just bonus point systems. So if you are interested in it, you can listen to that. I enjoyed that part,
Maybe we
to be
should
honest.
maybe
Yeah.
we should go 2 hours on bonus point systems.
It's interesting, but I don't want to do that. It's kind of boring, but I like listening to it. But yeah, I think bonus points it's not something you have to take note lah. But like, okay, for example, right, when Salah was doing well back in the day, right, I think when his first few years, right, he kept notoriously, right, not getting bonus points even though he scored. The reason being you get punished for missing a big chance. So he used to not be in the bonus, but that is because, right, the likes of Robo and Trent, right, they were racking out a lot of bonus points for like their key passes and all. That's one of the reasons why Salah was notoriously not getting any bonus points back in the day.
Bro, I can't
But
hear you at all.
this was before Salah developed the key pass.
Yup.
You know, back when he started at Liverpool, right, he didn't really have
No,
that
man.
assist potential. He wasn't a creator much. So he used to miss a lot of chances. So yeah, I think that's something to take note lah. Like if you like to miss a big chance, you will be very bad on the bonus point system.
All right, sorry, we're back with some technical difficulties. So I think last we heard Lokman was covering up on the bonus point system. I think that's quite a comprehensive cover. Enough for our needs today. I don't think we want to spend a 2-hour podcast just to talk on the bonus point system because that's a huge amount of work just for 3 points. But anyway, I think the bonus point system is something that we need to be careful about as well. I think there were certain games where, like for example, Bruno Fernandes, I remember he didn't do much, or rather, there wasn't a positive result for Man United. But Bruno Fernandes came out with all 3 bonus points in that game as well. So it's very interesting to see. Now, in this segment, we want to dedicate some time in this podcast as well before we move forward, because after this podcast, we've already covered most of the basics, which includes how to start a team, transfers, chips, and points awarded. Moving forward, what we want to do is we want to look at the different positions. We will discuss like what are some of the key considerations to make, and with some discussions on the strategies that we want to use, right? When we want to select these players. But before we do that, let's dedicate some time to look into some terminologies that we'll be using so that we are all familiar. Trust me, when I first joined as well, I was a bit unfamiliar with some of these terminologies, and having learned along the way, I really felt that it could have benefited me if, for example, I knew of it before the season started. So I'm going to start off with a very simple one. It's called nail versus rotation risk. So this has got to do with the potential of a player actually playing or not in that game week. So nil means that that a particular player will most likely play if he is fit, right? So we're looking at players like your Ellisons and your Bruno Fernandes and your Jared Bowens and your Son Heung-mins, right? These are players who are probably nil in the system or the setup that they're set for. And then we have this thing versus on the other dichotomy, the rotation risk, which is players who, like we don't really know whether they're starting or there's a risk for them to be rotated. So we have this very common term that we use amongst fantasy Premier League managers, which is called the Pep roulette, right? So over the last 2 or 3 seasons, it's very difficult for us to really decide, right? Like who's going to start in Pep Guardiola's Man City defensive lineup, right? So it's a roulette, right? So this week could be Nathan Ake, next week could be Akanji, etc., etc. So
Yeah.
that's why even though the players look like potential good assets, even if what's his name, Vardy scored like a hat trick, we wouldn't be sure if he will start the following week because there's no consistency on that one. So that's nil versus rotation risk.
Move on.
Yeah,
Wait,
moving on.
so one
Not
more
one
thing,
cover.
I don't like the term nailed, to be honest, because no one can be 100% nil. I prefer the term first choice because it's more apt, but then nil is really stuck in the terminologies for a long time, but yeah, you have to live with it. But anyway, let's move on to the next term, OOP, out of position. So essentially these are, for example, midfielders classified as defenders. So the legend is
Mm-hmm.
Lundstrom, Lord Lundstrom back in the day. So he was basically a attacking midfielder, but he was a 4 million defender. So that was a big mistake by the FPL Tower. So essentially OOP stands for players who are out of position. Yeah.
I think
Next,
more recently we see players like who are like Richarlison, even in forward being listed as
correct.
midfielders.
Son.
Yeah,
Ryan Arnery played front three when there were injuries for Wolves, and he's a defender, so that's one
yeah.
of the OOPs. So it depends. It depends on the tactics and the team's like injury list also. Okay, let's move on.
So out of position players, yeah.
Yeah. So eye test versus stats. So eye test also sometimes is being referred to as grass, like grass versus analytics. So eye test slash grass, it basically refers to a subjective observation and judgment based on watching players perform in matches. So like
Mm-hmm.
it involves how you watch when you watch the game, essentially, without looking at any stats or any it's essentially a personal opinion and
Yeah,
how you assess a
intuition.
player.
So,
Intuition,
for
yeah.
example, last season, I think at the start of the season, I saw watch one of the Bulls game and I saw Pedro Neto, and I thought he could be quite essential in this team. Got him on based on eye test alone, and he hot. And I think our partner ABK, he also had a decent eye test closer to the tail end of the season, but he watched Madueke play against
Oh yeah,
Arsenal,
he
and he
did.
thought that Madueke was going
Arsenal
to
lah.
fall, and he
Yeah.
did, right? You remember?
Yep.
Yeah. So that's basically eye test, like
Yeah, he did.
what you see, uh, the prospects from a player, without really relying on stats. Then, of course, on the other hand, we have these stats. So basically, stats refers to an objective statistical analysis based on the data that quantifies like the performance of the player itself. So you're looking at different matrices like XG, right? Expected goals considered, expected assists, etc., etc. So I think at the end of the day, this is more nerdy stuff. But there are some interesting stats. I mean, like non-nerdy stats, for example, pretty straightforward. For example, Anthony Gordon in the last season, right? He performs when he plays at home, and it's a stat which has been consistently repeated. So it's interesting as well. But my personal take on this, eye test versus stats, I feel that you need a little bit of both. The downside of stats is that for you to rely on data, you need to have significant amount of trail data, right? So if a player is new to the Premier League or is playing in a new position or there's changes in coach tactical setup, then the data might not be so relevant, right? So I mean, like the data might be insufficient for you to make a proper decision just from data itself. But the eye test can then come in to help you with your judgment and intuition. So that's why we love to watch some games. Like for me myself, deciding games, I would look at players whom I think. I mean, apart from the Liverpool games, right? I will try to catch matches where the players that I'm interested in scouting, like in that sense, are actually appearing. What's your thought on this one, Oman?
Okay. So in my opinion, stats are more important than eye test. I feel like but how you dive into the stats is another topic. Like you have to be there's a lot of ways to manipulate it, there's a lot of ways to study the stats. But I feel that stats is more important. So for example, right, I feel you can still win FPL if you don't watch a single game of if you don't watch a single minute of a Premier League, but you just look at stats. In my opinion, you can still win FPL. But if you never see any stats at all, right? You just watch games without looking at any stats, I don't think you can win FPL. That's my take. What do you think? That's why I feel stats
Yeah,
is
I
more
have to
important
agree
than
with
eye
you. I mean,
test.
at the end of the day, and when we talk about stats, I don't think we talk about like I mean, there are big data information like your XGs, XGCs, your predictive data, but there's also basic stats like the number of clean sheets that the team makes, that the team keeps, the number of goals that the team has scored, average goals per game, etc. And this kind of basic statistics are also, I think, more than sufficient for you to use as a basis of to move forward lah. So basically, like I mean,
Yeah.
like if you look at Luton game and you saw that Obene played one game very well and say, okay, I'm gonna bring Obene in because I think he plays well. But if you know statistically, Luton doesn't really score that many goals,
Yep.
or they concede more goals, or like they don't do well against most oppositions, except when they're playing at home, for example. Then the eye test would not have I mean, the data would not have supported your eye test. So that
Correct.
that is a very good point by itself. Yeah, so you need to have a bit of both. So when we discuss players, for example, we say that, oh, based on my eye test, I think he's good. And then based on the data, etc., etc. By the end of the day, the decision made is usually a mix of both data and eye
Yep.
test or grass. Right? Moving
Agreed.
forward, we have one more
Yep.
before we conclude this section. It's called effective ownership. So effective ownership or expected ownership. Is it expected
Effective.
ownership or effective ownership?
Effective EO.
Okay, effective ownership. So basically,
Yeah. Okay,
so
what
it's
do you okay?
basically how many players own
Yeah.
this particular asset.
Player.
Okay, wait,
Yeah.
before that, there's one more word. I think basically, like, we call fantasy players in your team as assets. Okay,
Yeah.
why assets? Because they come in to bring in points, right?
Yeah.
So like key assets, like premium assets, right? So assets are like the players itself. So is it an asset or is he not an asset? So basically, anyone on your team is an asset to you lah. So effective ownership
Okay.
is the I just want to get that out of the table as well.
Okay. Okay. So EO, right? Effective ownership. It measures a player's true ownership percentage, considering not only the
Mm-hmm.
total number of teams they are in, but also the number of active teams and the overall team value. So it's pretty chim lah. I feel like this is a very. It just came into the. It's a new thing lah in FPL in the FPL community. So it's essentially the formula, right? I'll quickly say is total ownership times active team times team value divide by total teams times average team value. So like EO provides an accurate representation of a player's ownership. So okay. So basically like EO, right, what EO does, right? For example, right, if you own a player and he's above 100%, let's say it's 100.1% EO and you didn't captain him,
Mm-hmm.
even though you own him, right, any points he score, it will get you a red arrow. Do you know that? So
No, I
essentially,
just
like,
found out.
okay, so like, yeah, so basically, you have Cole Palmer and Haaland, right? Palmer is 101% EO, then Haaland is 180, and you captain Haaland. You want Palmer to blank, even though he's in your team, because any points
Yeah.
Palmer
So at
scores
the
in
end
your
of the
team is
day,
a red arrow. Yeah.
yeah, correct. So at the end of the day, I think this has got to do with strategy as well. So EO will move your. I mean, it decides how your points will affect your ranking, right? So not all points are the same, right? So at the end of the day, you may need more points to maintain your rank when you're at a higher position. So there's this thing called a
Yeah.
safety score as well. So we cover that all later on. But as of now, I think effective ownership is not so crucial in terms of picking your goalkeepers, midfielders, defenders, and attackers at the start of the season. I think what we need to do is discuss a bit more on the near versus rotation, eye test versus stats first. And then there's one more thing which we will discuss, and
Actually,
basically that's premium versus budget.
I would say that ownership is
Yeah.
important in a game week one draft. I feel like when you hear content creators say I don't care about you, I'll just choose the players I think will score the most points. I think that's not true. Basically EO and ownership is important because you are playing against other managers. You're not playing against yourself. You're not playing against a competitor per se. You have to compete. So you have to know how whether, like, for example, if somebody is like 80% own, you it's most likely you have to get him because if you don't, then you're like just spoiling the game. That's why I feel like EO and ownership is very important. Yeah.
Okay, good plan there. So like Yeah, I
Shall
think a lot of
we?
times when we I mean like, I fall into this trap as well. Like I mentioned, this is my second season playing this full, right? I fall into this trap as well. Like you just don't want to have a template team. Okay, so there's this word now. One more word is a template, right? So template basically means a team with a lot of high EOs. So a lot of people,
Yeah.
a lot of players. That means a very common team. There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, that's how you get your rank points and you get that. It does not have to be different from someone else. You don't have to be unique. The only thing you need to be unique about in this game, right? I mean, we talk more about strategy, but it's okay, right? The most unique thing that you should have in your FPL team is your FPL name. I think that's about as much uniqueness that you need. Then other than that, just one or two differential players. I mean, we talk about a lot more about strategy. This is supposed to be the basics still. But this is the terminology. You see, we're getting excited already. Anything else you want to add in terms of terminology?
I think that's it. I think if anything where we missed out, we'll cover more in the later episodes. Shall we wrap it up?
Yep. So if that's good, then let's wrap up today's episode. This is episode FPL Playbook. What's the point? Hope that the deep dive into the different point system, the bonus point system, and the terminology will be helpful in your understanding of how to score points in FPL. I'm looking forward to come back in the next podcast where we start deep diving into each position. So goalkeepers first, followed by defenders, followed by midfielders, and then forwards. Because I don't know, the discussion there will be so much fun in my opinion, because there's always so much different views, and it's always exciting to have that free canvas at the start of the season to really shape up your team. Yep.
Yeah, good point, Anwar. Thank you for the pod. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I have enjoyed this pod. But before we end this podcast, I would like to re-emphasize that if you guys haven't followed us on Telegram, do join the Telegram chat. If you are new here, we have a big community. We have 250 odd people as of recording. We are looking to grow the community, and thank you for listening to us.
Yep, I'm Anwar, the FPL casual.
Yeah, I'm Lukman. We are FPL Copy Talks signing out.
You're listening to FPL Copy Talks. Right here. Right now.